Hey, welcome back to Hanging on His Words. This video will be the fifth installment in my Biblical Creation Model series. So far, I've covered Yahweh's creative efforts from days 1 through 4. So much has happened in just 4 24-hour periods. I'm going to wrap this Creation Week motif up by elaborating on Leviathan, Behemoth, Adam, and the Sabbath. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking it, sharing it, and subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. Now onto the video. Here's a quick recap of what has been covered in this series thus far. There were 7 great works of creation on day 1. The upper 6 firmament stories of heaven, the earth, the waters, all the angelic spirits that serve before him, the abysses, which include Sheol and Tartarus, the darkness, including evening and night, and the light, which includes dawn and day. On the second day, Yahweh embarked on one great work of creation, the last firmament structure that encapsulates our circular, immovable earth plane. It acts as a barrier for the waters that he created a day earlier, by partitioning the waters above the firmament from the waters below it. Yahweh commanded that the waters be moved from off of the earth that he created on day 1. This allowed for the dry land to appear. There were 4 great works on the third day. Seas, lakes, rivers, waters in the mountains, and on the earth, and dew. Seeds and sprouting things, fruit-bearing trees and wood trees, and the Garden of Eden. Vegetation began to spring up, and the Garden of God was established in a portion of land that he called Eden. On the 4th day, Yahweh created all 3 kinds of the heavenly luminaries: the sun, the moon, and the stars. Keep in mind that, despite what modern science claims, the celestial bodies that Yahweh created on day 4 were all separated into their own distinct kinds. The sun is not a star, and the moon is not some rock that can be landed on. Paul informs us that there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for star differs from star in glory. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open firmament of the heavens." God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." There was evening, and there was morning, a 5th day. The creation account of day 5 is further elaborated on in the book of Jubilees. And on the 5th day, he created great sea monsters in the depths of the waters, for these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands: the fish and everything that moves in the waters, and everything that flies, the birds and all their kind. And the sun rose above them to prosper them, and above everything that was on the earth, everything that shoots out of the earth, and all fruit-bearing trees, and all flesh. These 3 kinds he created on the 5th day. In addition to what we just read back in Genesis 1, Jubilees tells us that there were 3 specific kinds created on the 5th day. When we combine both of these creation accounts, we parcel out the following 3 kinds. 1. Great sea monsters. 2. Fish and everything that moves in the waters. And 3. Birds and everything that flies. Furthermore, the 6th chapter of 2nd Esdras explains how Yahweh commanded that the waters he made on day number 1 were to be gathered together in the 7th part of the earth on day number 3. 6 parts of the earth were to be kept dry, while the 7th part was for the gathering of the waters. Later in the same chapter, Ezra claims On the 5th day, you did command the 7th part, where the water had been gathered together, to bring forth living creatures, birds, and fishes. And so it was done. The dumb and lifeless water produced living creatures, as it was commanded, that therefore the nations might declare your wondrous works. Then you did keep in existence 2 living creatures. The name of one you did call Behemoth, and the name of the other, Leviathan. And you did separate one from the other, for the 7th part, where the water had been gathered together, could not hold them both. And you did give Behemoth one of the parts which had been dried up on the 3rd day, to live in it, where there are 1,000 mountains. But to Leviathan you did give the 7th part, the watery part. And you have kept them to be eaten by whom you will, and when you will. There are several fascinating components packed away in the handful of passages I just read. To start, the waters that were gathered into the 7th part of the earth were the conduit by which the Father produced the living creatures. The great sea monsters, the fishes, and the birds were all crafted from the dumb and lifeless waters, as Ezra puts it. Declare Yahweh's wondrous works, my friends. This is an incomparable feat. Things start to get even more interesting as we push forward. Now we're introduced to a pair of mysterious brutes named Leviathan and Behemoth. These 2 living creatures, or sea monsters, were kept in existence according to Ezra. I've come to understand that this is referring to their lifespan, meaning Leviathan and Behemoth were created, then separated from each other, and kept in hiding. They have been alive throughout the ages. The overall purpose of these 2 beasts is for the consumption of the nations who survived the cataclysmic events of the Day of the Lord. I won't be going into detail about all of those particulars in this video, but I highly recommend that you check out the video linked to the top right of your screen, as it does break down these 2 ancient creatures in the type of thoroughness that you may be requiring. Baruch acts as another witness to the truth of Leviathan and Behemoth being created on the 5th day, and being kept in existence, or in other words, preserved for the purpose I just spoke about. And Behemoth shall be revealed from his place, and Leviathan shall ascend from the sea, those 2 great monsters which I created on the 5th day of creation, and shall have kept until that time, and then they shall be for food for all that are left. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth after their kind." And it was so. God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Then God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day. First, I want to discuss this set of passages on your screen. We're presented with an interesting contrast between the living creatures that the water produced on day 5, and the living creatures that the earth was commanded to bring forth on day 6. Both creatures are made of flesh, but the flesh of each originates from 2 different elements, earth and water. Paul reminds us that the flesh of all living entities are not the same. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, and another flesh of birds, and another of fish. There are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. but the glory of the heavenly is one, and the glory of the earthly is another. Isn't it interesting that modern science promulgates the theory of water-to-land evolution? That sea creatures came first in the evolutionary process, and that after a transitional period of about 25 million years, give or take a few million years, land mammals came out of the oceans and started walking on dry ground? Of course these lies are pure rubbish. According to what the Creator explained to Moses, sea creatures did in fact come first. But exactly one day later, land creatures were brought forth. And not through water-to-land evolution either. Both were commanded to come into existence through water and dirt by the word of the Father. As I discussed in my Spiritual Biology of Angels video, which is linked to the top right of your screen, angels of the water class were created to have heavenly bodies crafted from flame and fire. This anatomical material is superior to the materials that the land and sea creatures were made of. It also surpasses our current human flesh. I say current because we'll be receiving upgraded flesh once we are resurrected into immortality, just as our Messiah was. If you're interested in learning more about what your future body will be like, check out my 3-part Water and Spirit series. For now, our physical makeup comes from the following. And God formed the man of dust of the earth, and breathed upon his face the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. In his discussion with Job, Yahweh asks, "Or did you take clay of the ground and form a living creature, and set it with the power of speech upon the earth?" We are clay, and we are dust. Yahweh breathed the breath of life into Adam, and all of us who descend from him are made from the same materials. We are living beings, or living souls, replete with a spirit that the Father kindly provided us with, so that these clay and dirt bodies can be animated. Let's check out another parallel passage out of 2nd Esdras. O Sovereign Lord, did you not speak at the beginning when you did form the earth, and that without help, and did command the dust, and it gave you Adam, a lifeless body? Yet he was the workmanship of your hands, and you did breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made alive in your presence. And you did lead him into the garden, which your right hand had planted before the earth appeared. Beautiful, isn't it? Yahweh alone spoke all of creation into existence over a period of 6 24-hour days. And he did it without help. What a creator. Once again, Ezra reiterates the same kind of information that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. On the 6th day, you did command the earth to bring forth before you cattle, beasts, and creeping things. And over these you did place Adam, as ruler over all the works which you had made. And from him have we all come, the people whom you have chosen. Just as we read back on day 5, Jubilees provides us with yet a little more detail that Genesis does not. Let's take a look. And on the 6th day, he created all the animals of the earth, and all cattle, and everything that moves on the earth. And after all this, he created man. A man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the earth, and in the seas, and over everything that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth. And over all this he gave him dominion. All these 4 kinds he created on the 6th day. And there were altogether 22 kinds. And he finished all his work on the 6th day, all that is in the heavens and on the earth, and in the seas, and in the abysses, and in the light and in the darkness, and in everything. We're told that there were 4 kinds created on day 6. Those kinds consist of animals of the earth, cattle, everything else that moves or creeps on the earth, and man. Before moving on to the final day, I want to double back to the passages highlighted on your screen. Just a quick note that they get fully addressed in the video linked above. If you want to know who the us and our personal pronouns are in this passage, and how they relate to spirit beings, then be sure to check out "Let us make man in our image." Now, let's wrap up Creation Week by looking at a few passages that elaborate on the 7th-day Sabbath. And the heavens and the earth were finished, and the whole world of them. And God finished on the 6th day his works which he made. And he ceased on the 7th day from all his works which he made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he ceased from all his works which God began to do. This 7th day is the day on which the Father kept Sabbath. It wasn't because God needed to rest, but because he wanted to appoint it as a great sign between himself, the angelic classes, and mankind. He likes working, but he also likes to relax and have fellowship. Jubilees 2:1 says, "And the angel of the presence spoke to Moses according to the word of Yahweh, saying, Write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days Yahweh God finished all his works and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works." The Sabbath has been set apart for all ages. Not just a few ages until Jesus shows up and supposedly does away with it. It's an eternal ordinance. Sabbath is not only a covenant reminder for us humans, but also an instruction for the angels to keep as well. Jubilees 2:17 says, "And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the 7th day from all work. And all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification, these 2 great classes, he has bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth." The Sabbath was kept by Adam and the patriarchs from the very beginning. Once Israel was extracted from the oppressive hand of Egypt under the leadership of Moses, Yahweh chose to remind them about this important sign of his covenant, as they had been in a foreign land and had forgotten many of the commandments of God's law. Yahweh lovingly instructed them to remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to Yahweh your God. On it you shall do no work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. To further the point of the eternality of the Sabbath, the writer of Hebrews states that there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. The Sabbath will forever remain as a day to rest from our works. Even when the kingdom of God comes and the earth is reformatted, we will still enjoy this day of rest as one giant family of immortal spirit beings, all blessed with the ability to perfectly keep the commandments of God's law together under one massive New Jerusalem roof. I hope this video series has blessed you. Share it far and wide if it has. We need to get the truth of God's word out to the masses. Thanks to everyone who supports this ministry, it truly means a lot to me. I love you, brothers and sisters. Shalom.